I'm Brittany.
And I'm Heather.
Welcome to Okayest Moms, the podcast.
A place to be more than just mom.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another miniature Okayest Mom Moment episode. We are back with all of your stories that make us feel less okayest, I guess.
It's just nice to know that we all kind of suck a little bit.
There's a little suckage everywhere. All right, what do you got?
Okay, so I have been working at my kid's school, which at first, it can be weird because I think the teachers kind of see me as a parent, but the parents kind of see me as a teacher. So I'm in this weird gray zone. But one of the nice things is I have gotten to know my kids' teachers much better, and I think they're feeling more comfortable with me and telling me about my kids' stuff. It's so nice to have your kids truly seen by the person that they spend the majority of their time with. And Isla's teachers just totally embraced her. And it's so nice. But so they were talking in class about how April is Autism Awareness Month. And I'd kind of been talking with their teacher previously about maybe if this is the grade to kind of bring it up and make it known and kind of fill in some gaps for some of the other kids in her class. And so they were talking about Autism Awareness Month, and I had shared a resource with her about explaining autism. And so I came home and was like, Mom, did you know April is Autism Awareness Month, blah, blah, blah. And I had kind of forgotten because she wasn't top of mind. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So what'd you guys talk about? And we kind of talked about it a little bit. And one thing she didn't mention that her teacher told me the next day. So they had their whole conversation. And they go to line up for lunch, and her teacher said that she heard a scuffle at the front of the line, and all the kids were like, Isla cut, and so she looks at her teacher and is like, well, it's my month, and so, and I mean, if you can't get a free pass to the front of the goddamn line in April, what is this good for?
Yeah, of course. Makes total sense.
I mean, and her teacher said as soon as she tried to explain it, I was like, oh, sure. Okay, I get it. I'll go to the end. And so, but I just love that she thought it was funny and got the joke and it wasn't a thing. It was just yeah, guess what she said today? It was just oh, okay.
Okay. I love her. Mine is, it's one of those moments in parenthood where you're standing on a cliff and you're like, this could either be really bad or really bad. And at first it felt really bad, but then it really turned into something beautiful. So we recently went to Universal Studios, and Harrison has proclaimed that he suddenly hates roller coasters, that he's afraid of heights. He does not want to do them. And so
it was a little on brand.
Yeah, totally. And so, we do the thing where I probably overcompensate in this because I felt like I was never listened to as a child, and that kind of, taught to ignore your body or ignore how you really feel. And so we try to go all in with our kids. If that's how you feel, okay, great. Thanks for telling me, blah, blah, blah. Well, we kind of the okayest part comes in when I was we all wanted to ride the Harry Potter ride. It was the thing that we all wanted to do. And Harrison started to freak out a little bit, didn't want to do it, was very scared the whole time in line, on the verge of tears. And we did the thing where we're well, you're just going to try it and kind of push through it. In the back of our minds being this could be really bad. We could really regret this. This could be the moment where he has to go to therapy for. What the fuck are we doing? But also we really wanted to write it. So that was tough stuff. But he is full blown crying as we're getting on this ride. And I'm like, oh my God. And the way this is set up, it's like a roller coaster. So it's the big harness in front of you and you can't lean forward. It's a row of 4. And you can't lean forward at all to see anybody's face.
You can't, yeah.
And so the whole and if you've been on this ride, it is kind of rolly and like up high. And then there's like some drops. And so the whole time I'm like holding his hand, squeezing it like, oh, fuck. He's going to be like passed out or he's hating everything. And we get off the ride and Taylor and I look at each other first and we caught a glance and we were like, oh, fuck. And then we look at him and he looks up at us. He's not crying. So win right there. But then he goes, I loved it. I want to write it again. And we were like, huge sigh of relief. But it could have been really bad.
It could have been. But I think you know him well enough to know that
I knew
he
he
just
would
needs a
love
little-
it. I knew he would love
he's
it.
a kid that just needs a little extra push to
Yes,
I
totally.
think there's a lot of validation in listening to your feelings, but also like as an overthinker, sometimes you don't listen to all your feelings. There's a lot of wisdom in not listening to everything your brain's telling you.
I think, yes. And I think he learned a little lesson there. And we also did too, that we can, you know, we do know him and we should trust our instincts more. So it was, you know, parenting, man. All right. The first one is Amy Lang from our episode 139, Talking Birds and Bees with Kids.
So the first thing I thought of is that Carrie and I parented Milo a little differently. Now, one, I just need to a couple things. We have an only child. So that makes things frankly easier because there's none of that business that goes on between siblings. But when he was about 5, I took a class and I became a positive discipline trainer. And positive discipline really turns typical parenting on its head. And so we were doing things that were not the same. Like we didn't do timeout. We had the chill out corner. We called it going to Hawaii. So if he was having an angry outburst, be like, why don't you go to Hawaii? And when you go to Hawaii, there are coloring books and stuffies, and you just chill out and relax. You learn to self-regulate. And then when he'd come back, we'd say, all right, kiddo, what happened here? Let's talk about it. So we did things like that. And it made people uncomfortable around us because they didn't get it. So like, we don't do timeout. They'd be like, what do you do? Is your child a wild animal? It's like, no, actually, he's not a wild animal. He self-regulates really well and he's neurotypical. And so again, we really lucked out, but it was really interesting parenting this way and people just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I feel really proud that we were able to stick with that. I love positive discipline. If you don't know what it is, I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you feel like you're an outlier parent anyway. It'll give you some structure. So I always felt like an outlier in how we were parenting him. And, our parents thought we were weird. But so that's the first thing I thought of. That's the first thing I thought of. And you know what? This talking openly with your kids from a young age, it's going to put you in that outlier category, and you have got to be convicted and evangelized that this is the right thing for your child. It's about their health, their safety. It's about them growing up to be a whole happy human being. It's about you showing up as the trustworthy adult I'm pretty sure you did not have, so your kids can, feel good about themselves in this, again, fundamental part of being a human being.
All right. And now we have one of your listener submitted stories. Heather, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because been there. This was from the other day. It was a late night at Disneyland and my youngest fell asleep and the oldest was overstimulated and overtired. We bought ice cream cones and she started throwing a fit because it was dripping, like a complete meltdown. I see what she did there, meltdown. I tried helping her with napkins and it didn't work. I lost my shit after a hot and really long day. You don't have to justify why you lost your shit after a day.
Seriously.
And told her if she didn't stop screaming, I was going to throw it away and almost threw it away. In the end, she calmed down and still had tears while eating the ice cream cone. And I sat next to her eating my own. It was the saddest ice cream cone eating ever. Listen, you cannot tell me that there is one single family who has gone to Disneyland for a day and not been at each other's throats at least one point during the day. It's not impossible. And This whole happiest place on earth, you should be happy. Listen, it is the happiest place on earth for 98% of the time you're there. That 2% where everybody wants to kill each other because all you've eaten all day is one churro. No, it's been there.
Yes, totally. All right. The next one is from Felicia. She was our guest in episode 136, Equal Division of Household Labor with 10 Tasks.
But I think when it comes to an okayest moment is at some point when my kids were like in middle school, I gave up on the idea of family dinners. Like they were different activities, all in different directions. People kind of like different things to eat. They're hungry at different times. And it was so stressful for me to, do this thing that like culture told me, like your kids are going to fail if you don't do this. I just had to let it go. And I incorporate other ways of connecting with them. So then when we do come together, it is wonderful. It's joyful. I always invite them to eat with me if they want to, and they have the time in their schedule. When my middle daughter is home from college, we have breakfast together in the morning. Just finding other ways of connecting, but just like letting go of that cultural norm of like, this is the only way to do this right. And if you don't do it this way, you are a failure. I still struggle with it sometimes. But I know it's the right thing for us and our family. So I have to just remind myself that those forced family dinners were no fun.
Here's another one of your submitted stories. Okay. Took my dog and toddler boy to the vet today. My kid had a tantrum throughout the entire visit while I tried to wrangle my nervous dog and talk to the vet. Then it was time to pay, corral my still crazy kid, and leave, by which time I was calling my son by my dog's name and wishing I had another leash. Yeah, that tracks. Well, we absolutely love doing these episodes, and we would love it if you would submit your own Okayest Mom moments. You can do that by going to okayestmoms.com/OMM, or you can call and leave a voicemail at 916-778-0545, and we'll see you next month with another miniature episode.
If you like what you just heard, and we hope you do, you can find more of us online at www.okayestmoms.com. We're also on all social media platforms, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Okayest Moms Blog. Or if you want to, you can send us an email at hey@okayestmoms.com.